Guess I'll make a start. So, hi everyone, welcome to the Aviation Management presentation. If you have any questions, and put them into the chat box and I'll get to them at the end of the presentation. So I suppose I'll introduce myself. My name is Ava Duane. I'm a third year student. I'm from Edenderry in County Offaly. I've always had an interest in aviation with a particular interest in airport operations, and I have a deep love to travel. So I actually got the chance to travel to America on a J1 visa 2 summers ago, and this is one of the huge benefits of being a college student, is getting to avail of the visa. I'm also a student ambassador here at DCU, so if you have any questions throughout the year, you can pop them into the chat box, or I can be contacted anytime on the UniBuddy platform. So if you look on the chat with students section of the DCU website or under the course information, you'll find myself or another guy, Sean, there as well. So I'll provide a quick overview of the course. The CAO code is DC117. It's a 4 years long course, and it's based on the Glasnevin campus of DCU. Let me see, there seems to be an issue with the slides. Give us a look. Can anyone see the slides? Apologies. Perfect. So, as I was saying, the course is a level 8 course, and the minimum points last year were 486, and they've been averaging around the 480 mark for the last number of years. It's a business course in the DCU business faculty, and it's a mix of general business management and specialist aviation knowledge. So it's suitable for anyone interested in aviation, air traffic controlling, or becoming a pilot. So students who complete this course go on to have very successful careers in a wide range of areas, such as air traffic controlling, airport operations, aviation management. They become airline pilots. And then general business as well is business operations, employee relations, flight operations, logistics, marketing, public relations, and a whole host more. So it's a very wide degree of areas that we cover. Then just having a look at the entry requirements. So I've split them into the DCU general requirements, which are needed for any course here at DCU. So these are, you need 6 Leaving Cert subjects at grade H6 or H7 or 06, and these must include English or Irish and maths. And then you'll need at least 2 other subjects at grade H5, and these can be in any subject. And then specifically for the aviation course, you're going to need a H6 or an 04 in maths. So I'll give you a quick breakdown of what the course looks like and the type of things we're going to study. So in year 1, we start the basis of our understanding of the aviation industry. So we do general business modules such as critical thinking, learning innovation for enterprise, also known as LIFE, accounting for business, fundamentals of economics, business analytics, and business maths. And then we start to introduce some of the aviation topics, such as airport operations, aviation policy, aviation sector and flying theory 1, foundations for aviation studies, which would be kind of like physics and maths. So our modules are assessed by a couple of different ways. So you can have exams, you can do continuous assessment assignments, or most commonly in our course, it's a good mix of both. So you may do some presentations with an exam at the end. And then we move on to year 2, and we do a further depth look at some of the subjects we studied last year, such as financial management, applied business analytics, critical thinking for business, and aviation sector and flying theory 2. Then we introduce some other new modules, such as HR management, operations management, the Innovators Toolkit, sustainable aviation, airline economics and finance, and airline structures and standards. And these are all very, very interesting. And then we move on to year 3, and this looks a little bit different. So for our first semester, we're going to do a work placement known as Intra. And this is a paid placement, and we go out to some area of aviation and work for, I think it's between 5 to 8 months, and we gain loads of experience, and it's a very, very worthwhile reason for doing our course. So we have 2 ways of getting a placement. So the first way is you could sort your own placement. So if you know someone within the industry or you have connections, definitely give them a shout. Or DCU also helps us in finding a placement through what is known as the Intra portal. So here they advertise a certain number of jobs with aviation companies, and then you upload your CV and can apply for jobs there. And I've actually recently just finished my Intra placement, being a third year student, and I was with DAA up in Dublin Airport. I was an airport operations and contracts performance intern. So I got to see firsthand how an airport works and operates. And then I was heavily involved in the management of third-party contractors. So it was a brilliant experience, and you get to meet so many amazing people along the way. So then we come back after our Intra placement, and we are back into the studying. So we do advanced operational modelling, responsible management and leadership for sustainable business, aviation safety management, aviation business management, aircraft leasing and cargo operations. So it's worth to note that everyone who does the course does the first 3 years together, and then it's when we move into year 4 that we branch off into our special areas, whether it be pilot studies, air traffic controlling, or continuing on with the aviation management. So then in year 4, the first option you have is the aviation management studies. So here you'll stay at DCU and you are going to study more business aviation management topics, such as project management, cross-cultural management, business strategy, business and professional ethics, aviation industry project, which is our thesis, fleet planning, employee relations, supply chain management, financial engineering, and contingency management for aviation. Most students who do the course tend to stick with the aviation management studies for year 4. And then next we have the pilot studies, which I'm sure loads of you guys are interested in. So this involves you leaving DCU in 4th year and you go to a flight training organisation, which must be approved by DCU and follow AASA regulations. So at the moment, UK flight training schools are not accepted because they are out of the European Union and follow different regulations. The most popular schools among students tend to be the National Flight Centre in Weston, Atlantic Flight Training Academy in Cork, Flight Training Europe in Jerez, Spain, and students who choose the pilot study specialism aim to qualify as a commercial pilot with their ATPL licence. It's very important to note that the costs can be anywhere between 75,000 to 100,000 euros, depending on where you study. And this is paid for by the student and not DCU. So there is no financial aid offered by DCU for the pilot studies. And then the flying theory modules in year 1 and 2 that were mentioned earlier actually prepare you for the ground school exams for your pilot licence, which is very useful. And then DCU has partnered with National Flight Centre in Weston there in the last 2 years. So the aim of this is to try and introduce starting the ground school exam process in year 3 of the course instead of going on an Intra placement. So you do your ground school and then in 4th year you go on and kind of continue with your flight lessons. So it's to help you graduate a bit quicker. So in order to graduate with your pilot's licence from DCU, you need to have your ground school exam results, your certificate results for flying, and you have to write a reflection on the whole training process. And as it takes about 15 to 18 months to complete your flight training, you might need to register for a 5th year at DCU depending on how soon you start your training. But with the new partnership with NFC, we're hoping that students might not have to apply for the 5th year. And then you have your air traffic control option. The numbers for these tend to be a lot lower because placements can be harder to get as they're highly competitive. So with this option, you're going to leave DCU and you're going to go to an navigational organisation such as AirNav Ireland, as it's changed its name there recently. So you'll need to go through and complete all the aptitude tests, your health checks, and whatever else is needed for the selection process in order to be accepted to an organisation. And again, as it's highly competitive, it tends to be organisations, they run the competitions for placements every couple of years. So it depends on the employment availability, retirements, that type of thing. And then you don't have to do it in Ireland. You can go abroad as long as it's within the EU and follows those same regulations. And then another thing I will mention, it's slightly separate to the course, it's the Aviation Society at DCU. I would encourage anyone with an interest in aviation to join. It's a great way of experiencing things outside the course. So they've often organised guest speakers to come in. So in the last year or two, they've had Enda Cornelia, who is the country manager for Emirates Ireland, Gavin Harnett, who was an ex-ATC officer and is now an Aer Lingus pilot. They recently had Michael O'Leary in, you'd know, CEO of Ryanair, and a whole host of other people. They're very interesting to hear how their experience is in the industry. They organise trips. They've often organised ones down to AFTA and Cork to see their flight training facilities. We've gotten tours of Dublin Airport's traffic control tower, and that was actually brilliant to see. And they've often organised foreign trips. They host a ball every year. So it's a great way of meeting other people with an interest in aviation as well. And then lastly, completely separate to the course and DCU, but I will mention it, it's the Irish Aviation Student Association, called AASA. It's an organisation run by students for students. It's brilliant for anyone with an interest in aviation, whether you do the course or not. They organise events for college and secondary school students with industry professionals, such as Career Expo, where they invite loads of companies in, and we got to ask them all about their graduate programs and their careers that they offer, pilots' life careers, the flight training organisations. They organise networking events and a whole host of other opportunities. They have newsletters and articles as well about a whole host of various topics in aviation. So they would be totally something to look into and sign up for if you get the chance. So I suppose, thanks for listening. I'll have a look and see of any of the questions you've put in the chat box, but feel free to put in whatever if there's anything I haven't covered. And I'll have a look now. So, is doing an Irish exam on a leaving cert a necessity if I'm a foreign student? No, it's not. If you have your leaving results in English, that would do it. So in their entry requirements, you need English or Irish and maths. So foreign students can definitely avail of the Irish exemption if they need to. What does the thesis involve? You have to do a research project on an area of aviation. If you have any particular interest, or if you are working somewhere on your interplacement and you'd like to do a research project on something you found interesting, completely. We have a lecturer or a tutor who would help us with our thesis along the way. And as I'm not in fourth year, I'm not totally sure what else is involved, but I know it's a lot of research and a lot of discussion and totally something that you're interested in. So if I didn't take business as a subject in secondary school, would all the business related topics start from the basic? Completely yes. So I didn't take business, but the lecturers teach it if as long as people to have a basic understanding, so it's easy to follow along with. And they don't just jump right into it. They teach it very, very basic and then build it up as they're going along. But a lot of people didn't do business and coped pretty fine, so I wouldn't let that be a deterrent for the course, I suppose. So, wondering what the intake for the course is. So, for the last number of years, I think there's been about 60 places each year, with a mix coming from the CAO, PLCs, and things like that. But it had been 40 for a number of years, but I think it's increased to 60 from what I can see. So the places are getting higher, which is a positive sign. And the minimum points last year were 486. So it does just depend on what the last person who entered the course that year, what their points were. But it tends to be around the 480 mark for the past couple of years, if that helps. Are there more females doing this course compared to males, or vice versa? There does tend to be a more ratio of males to females, but it has been very much increasing the past couple of years. There's definitely a good strong cohort of us females doing the course, and there's definitely lots of opportunities for males and particularly for females to get involved in the industry as well. So I wouldn't let that turn you off, I suppose. Do you find it hard to find accommodation in Dublin? So I personally do a mix of both. I do a lot of commuting, and then I have grandparents that I can stay with some nights a week. But there's definitely accommodation. We've a lot of accommodation on campus, which is offered on a lottery system, and they do a good few rounds of offers from whether people take it or not. So there is offer, and there's lots of other kind of student accommodation centres around Dublin as well, and in Ballymun, which is only up the road. So there is lots of options. It can be difficult, but there's options there. I think DCU actually has a new portal where students can look up with people who have chosen to register with DCU who have rooms to rent, which would be very useful to look at as well. I'm not totally sure what it's called, but it's Accommodation Hub or something if you want to have a look. How many hours a week is the course, and how long will your days be in general? So in first year you would have your most amount of lectures per week. I think it's 20 hours of lectures a week, and a lot of the times you'd have a day off as well, so they might put those lectures into 4 days a week and you might have one off. And as you go along through the course, they do decrease a little bit, so maybe 12 hours, 8 hours of lectures a week as you get into the course. But they do tend to keep it, if they can, timetable wise, to have a day off, which is very useful for catching up on work or going to clubs and societies and things like that. But then you'd have your all your coursework and your assignments and research and readings and things like that. So it's not too bad, but definitely first year is the most full on, I'd say, and then in-person wise, and then it decreases along the way. I'm not too sure on the prices for a room in campus, but if you go on to, I think it's DCU Rooms, they would have all the information about the campus accommodation there per semester and the different options of room styles as well. So if you go onto the website, it's definitely there. There's definitely an aviation society in DCU. They offer loads of talks, trips, and events. So it's definitely something I would sign up for. It's pretty good. I think that's all the questions that have come in. So I appreciate you all coming in and listening to the presentation, and I would be very hopeful that most of you would choose DCU and the aviation management course. It'd be great to see any of you all on campus next year. Yeah, and again, if you have any questions further down the line and that crops up in your mind, you can text us on UniBuddy or any of the ambassadors on any of the different courses, and they'll help you as much as they can. So it's on the chat with students section of the DC website or under your course information on the website. Okay, see you all. Best of luck. Bye.